Mrs. Dwyer.
I actually just have to say that I was shocked myself to open the Quincy Sun and read some excerpts of a letter that I also didn't get a copy of either. And I have since gotten a copy of the letter, and you know what, we all disagree on issues all the time, and that's fine. But I think what Dave is trying to say, but I will try to say it, is that to see 3 names on a letter, the first thing that I thought of was last year when we tried to write a letter to the MASC for clarification on the track issue. I felt uncomfortable, so I wanted to write the letter by myself, and Dave wanted to write a letter, but we felt uncomfortable making such a statement without the approval of this body. So we brought that forward, and we did that collaboratively. We all agreed on the letter, to send a letter. The letter went out, and we got a response. This was a little different. This was something that I was not aware that you wrote a letter, and I read it in the Quincy Sun. And I guess the other issue is that I sent an email last year to this body, I think it was a subcommittee, and I was immediately reprimanded by the city solicitor that you cannot write more than 2 public official names in an email, because that looks like it's somewhat of a violation of the open meeting law. And he told me that I could not write to my subcommittee members like that. Now, maybe I could write one email and then that person write another email, but, the area is a little gray about publications of that such. But my point is that there were 3 names on a letter that publicly went out to my constituents as well as your constituents without a courtesy of asking me if I would like to join the letter or have any comment about what you wrote in the letter, because you did discuss issues, and I'm specifically a high school issue, on the high school issue project, which, by the way, is incorrect, and I will be writing a rebuttal on that, and this committee will get a full report of that Phase 4 savings, which is not nearly $1 million, but that's for another night. So I actually think you violated the open meeting law by writing a letter with your 3 signatures. Now, granted, it was not on letterhead, but you know what? You wrote Joanne Bragg, Quincy School Committee, Ron Mariano, Quincy School Committee, Nick Pulio, Quincy School Committee. So I feel somewhat that you misrepresented the rest of us. And I'm going to say something, and I'm sorry, Ann, that I'm going to say this, but if I was running for an election this year, as Ian is, and one of my constituents got a letter from the 3 of you, and I was not on there, and I was a Koch supporter, I think I would not vote for Ann Mahoney because she didn't sign the letter. So I think you did a disservice to your colleague who was running for election. Luckily, she smashed the numbers anyway. She didn't need any kind of recommendation or inclusion of a letter. But I have to tell you, I think what you've done is unethical, and I think you might have violated the open meeting law. And I plan on pursuing that, both of those issues.
Mayor Koch.
I think those statements are far-reaching and border outrageous. When you are doing business of the city, whether by email or letter or official business, that's when you get into the whole issue of the requirements and following the law, open meeting law and notice and so forth. This was 3 elected officials expressing their opinion on behalf of a candidate, nothing to do with any official capacity of the committee. And since you referenced that letter that this body, including I, voted for to get the ruling from the attorney on behalf of the state school committee meetings, I was disturbed, but never raised it publicly, how that letter was withheld from this body because it arrived the day of the school committee meeting, and it was purposely withheld from this body, and that was instructed to do so by the vice chairman. I didn't raise an issue about that, and I voted for it. We all voted as a body, as a committee. It was an official document at that point. So there was no That was a vote taken, and I supported that motion to do it. We got a letter back, and that letter was withheld from this body. I think that was unethical. I think that was disturbing. May not like what you get back in writing. This was a political opinion expressed by 3 individuals with a letter that went out on campaign stationery. To charge that it's unethical is outrageous, Mrs. Dwyer.
You all set?
For now.
Well, actually, in the body of the letter, besides recommendations, you do talk about the high school project. You do talk about joining the healthcare program. You do talk about Central Middle School. You do talk about Sterling Middle School. Those are education issues. So yes, I think you did violate the law. I do understand that the last paragraph is a recommendation endorsing your candidacy for mayor, but you know what? This body is about educating kids, not registering votes for you. And I'm deeply, deeply disturbed by this letter. And I will be calling the State Ethics Commission tomorrow, and I will be calling the District Attorney General to find out whether or not you violated the open meeting law, because you do clearly talk about 3 issues. And I'm assuming that you knew about this letter. Did you know about this letter, Mayor Koch, before it went out?
Absolutely. Mike, absolutely know about the letter, and I'd encourage you to contact the DA. I'd encourage you to read the Constitution. It might help clear it up for you.
Well, 4 members knowing about a letter that went out, I'm pretty sure that violates the open meeting law. Thank you.
I'm going to move to the next item, hearings. Actually, I skipped one, communications. Seeing none, hearings. Report of special committees, Mrs. Bragg.
I have asked, in working with the superintendent, to invite to the policy subcommittee meeting a representative from the QEA, Citywide Parents Council, and the SPED PAC to join us as we look at this issue on the school calendar. And just to say that the superintendent did give me a copy of what the policy presently is. It is a policy, so it's not changed lightly. It's 9.2. We will have that available for when we come up with a date, and like to just have everybody together, and we'll discuss it and bring back a recommendation to the full board, depending on what happens there.
Thank you. Executive session, none. Motion to adjourn. Mr. Mahoney. In favor, say aye.